What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Virzi Effect Podcast show. My name is Paul Virzi, and today is Wednesday, the 10th, 2020, and you guys listening to episode 451. My guest today is a very, very special guest because he was actually on episode 400, live at Gotham Comedy Club. One of my dudes, one of my dearest friends, and somebody that I've always said is not only the best in show business, but he's the best in life. You know him as one of the 4 cast members of the hit television show on True TV, Impractical Jokers, and the Impractical Jokers movie, the man, the myth, the legend, Sal Vulcano. Sale, thanks for being here,
baby.
Oh, it's nice to see you. I love the way you look. I love you just letting it go.
I'm growing it out.
Just going, yeah.
It's becoming unmanageable. So now I got the slick going, and I just, this is a new thing. I just tried this little thing. I bought the wax. I'm not even sure if I'm sold on. I did it as a goof, but.
No, you know what? I don't know. You either look like you just wrote a book or you're like a 1970s relief pitcher.
I love both of those things.
Right? Yeah.
I got a little Guidry trying, maybe a Guidry or like a Goose Gossage or something going on.
Goose Gossage. Who was the guy? Raleigh Fingers?
Raleigh with he's the guy.
He's the one that it went like
this guy, Raleigh, yeah.
It went.
No, they don't make baseball like baseball players do not have the fashion sense, and I don't think they have the swag that they used to really. You know?
No. I think
70s fashion permeated the sport more. Like, you know, the hair, the chops, the fro, like the Oscar Gamble, all that kind of thing. Now it's like everybody kind of looks kind of pretty much the same. But like you look at those old baseball players, like you're like, yeah, they were having some fun.
Yeah, one guy would have the stirrups really high. Eddie Murray had the fro under the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah. You love stirrups high? I love stirrups high.
Stirrups high was, one of my favorite players did it was Ricky Henderson.
That means you had the gas if you had stirrups high.
Yeah, if you had stirrups high, that means you're stealing second for sure.
Oh God, yeah. He would steal like everything. He would steal everything. And who was the base stealing leaders it was him and Vince Coleman, I think, were like American and National League head to head like for years, weren't they?
Yeah, it's funny you said that because I remember, it's funny, Vince was second, but such a distant second, which is crazy on how much Ricky had. But I remember my brother and I would laugh because every time Ricky got on base, you're right, it wasn't just second. There's a chance he's taking third too.
Yeah, you ever see his quads, his thighs?
Yeah,
like tree trunks.
Yeah, I mean, and I love that he was so subtly arrogant that as soon as he stole the base, he didn't wait. He just took it out. Right when
Yeah, right. Then you had the flip side of that, which was my idol, was Mattingly. And then Mattingly just had, you just saw this little stirrup at the end. He had like the full length pants.
Don Mattingly is the reason why I became a Yankee fan. Don Mattingly is my first sports hero.
No doubt at all. Me too. I started watching the Yankees in like the mid 80s, maybe 85, 86, maybe 86. I really started to watch, but I caught the tail end of all those guys you just said, like Guidry, Righetti, all that whole team, like, Nettles, like those guys. And then of course, Dave Winfield, Henderson. And then comes Mattingly. And then I took the ride with Mattingly all the way to 95. And I always felt bad that he didn't get his due. But I was like, he was my idol though. I had the posters everywhere. There was this guy that delivered pizza for Angie's Pizzeria on Bay Street in my neighborhood when I was little. He looked like Don Mattingly's twin brother. And we used to beg my mom to order pizza just so he would deliver to the house, and I would just stare at him because when I tell you he looked identical, he looked just like him, the whole thing, everything, and I was like,
that's so cool, man. Like I remember, I love Don Mattingly so much. I remember in the yearbook they showed his family. His wife's name was Kim. I remember. And
dude, Evansville, Indiana, April 20th, I think his birthday was, something like that. I remember because you used to memorize his stats.
Right, but here's the other reason why. Guys like us around the same age who grew up Yankee fans, he was the only thing we had in the 80s because they stunk. So like you went to a game knowing they were probably going to lose, but at least you're seeing Donnie baseball.
Dude, the Yankees sucked from like after that little like 81, 83 when they like that tail end of that team from like 84 Mattingly's entire career. They finally got it. I just spoke about this on the show. 95. They was his first playoff year, and they got eliminated in the wild card game against Seattle, and that was the end of him. Yeah. And then wouldn't you know it, 90 Tino came in, right? Was Tino?
Tino came in. Tino replaced
him, and then 96 they make the wild card and they win the World Series. It was always bittersweet that man didn't get a New York title, man.
I'll tell you a cool story. I'm glad we're talking about this up front, because you do so many podcasts, and then your mustache just turned it into this, which is fantastic. When I was a little boy in second grade, I believe, because we're close. I'm imagining we're close to the same age. The only baseball team I knew that existed. What's that?
62. You
were born in 62?
Yeah.
You look fantastic.
I should have went. That was way too. I went off my game. I should have been like, I'm 51. Now what I'll be this year? I'm 43 now.
Oh, okay. So you're a little older than me, whatever, but I'm still 86. So yeah, so you started probably understanding sports a little more. In 1986, when the Mets won the World Series against the Red Sox, I only knew that I only thought that there was one team in New York. Because I'm a first grader or a second grader, and all my friends are talking about it, watching it, and we're rooting for it. And if you remember, that series was epic, right?
That was one of the greatest series I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, the what's it called? Mookie Wilson and the
Billy Buckner.
Bill Buckner error through his legs. Mookie with the bunt. So I don't know anything else, right?
Mookie, I believe, lived on Staten Island for a little bit too.
Oh, did he?
I think we claimed him for a little bit. Yeah.
That's hilarious. You guys, a guy rents a house from somebody for 2 weeks.
Franco too lived here.
Yeah, dude, Mookie, he got a sandwich here once.
We used to drive by. His house was behind this big brick wall.
Oh, yeah?
You couldn't really see it, yeah.
So the Mets are winning. Me and my friends are going nuts. I don't know any better. And I'm talking baseball at dinner with my mother and stepfather. And my mother's like, we got to take him to a game. And my stepfather said, if you take him to a game, you got to take him to the Yankees. And I'm going, who? I don't know. All I know is this team in 86 having this epic thing, and it's amazing, and everybody's going nuts. And they were like, no, here's the deal with the Yankees. And I walked in there, and that was not when they weren't opened up the way they're opened up now. You had to go through the tunnel.
Oh, the old stadium was wild, dude. There was like dark alleyways in the old stadium.
The old stadium, man. And I walked in there, and the grass just green, and I see Donnie Baseball 23, and I was done.
Yeah, man.
Done. It was my first hero. It was my first. I knew all the stats. I got it. So
that's to the T. Emulating him, trying to do his batting stance when we played ball, all that stuff.
And
man.
You always had to do multiple stance because he had a bad back.
Yeah, he changed it up. He reinvented it. He had a bad back, had a little dip, and then he worked with the batting coach. And I think at that point Willie Randolph was transitioned over to like the coaching staff or something, but. Man, old Yankees were a different thing for me. In those times, I had moved in with my grandparents. They had a two-family home, and they lived upstairs. So I used to go upstairs and watch. One of the ways me and my grandpa bonded was watching Yankee games on WPIX, Channel 11.
Yeah.
And then right after the game was over, usually around like 11:30, they would play reruns of the Jeffersons. And those were like my nightly routine with my grandpa. We watched the Yankees. And then we'd watch the Jeffersons. And then a lot of times I'd go to sleep upstairs on his couch, and then I had school the next day. He used to drive me. And this is very vivid memory because it happened so often. My grandpa would wake up at 5 a.m, like his whole life. And he'd get up, he'd make a pot of coffee, but just like the blackest coffee over the stove. He used to pour it and just steep it, like steep a bag, like a big thing. And it would reek of coffee. And he used to he only had AM radio. He used to put on 10-10 wins, 5 a.m, walk the dogs, make the coffee, and then he used to put on 10-10 wins. And I used to be on the couch. I used to hear, wins news time, 5:00,
oh my,
5:22. And that would wake me up every day. And he'd sit there and he'd read the paper, my grandpa. And this is what my grandfather was known for. What a unique guy, man. His birthday, he would have been 102 June 6th, 4 days ago. He passed 6 years ago. He lived a great full life. But he would read the paper from cover to cover, and he thought everybody was corrupt, and and he used to take a pen and write his notes on the daily paper, and then when he read the paper cover to cover, he put it on the side. And later, when I came home from school, I used to go to read the paper myself, read the Yankee game, read the stats, and all it was he would circle people's faces, and draw a line, and write crook, and it was just, dude, cover to cover, this guy's a crook. Crook over here, crook, just right there. It's so funny.
Oh,
man.
That's so funny, man. But, no, dude, the old man habits, or like when you look at what they did, and I totally get it, man. One thing that happened during this pandemic was there's a place that I go to eat my breakfast, and I get either my tea or my coffee, and I get either the Post or the Daily News, and I flip it, and I start with the sports section, and I don't know if it's going to make it now. I think it's done. Yeah. And it was one of those things where I'm like, being alone with a newspaper and and a drink that you like is such an amazing thing. And it's funny you said that about your grandfather, because my grandfather and we would watch it on Sundays. See, my parents were divorced. So visitation days, my dad's big visitation day was Sunday, and they played during the day. So it would be on Channel 11. And then when it wasn't, or if they were away and it wasn't televised, he'd have a little radio. And I always knew the Yankees did something good, because he would sit up and he would just have the radio, and you would just hear like a light clap, right? But he would put this is one thing he did that not a lot of people understood. He would put the Met game on when he couldn't get a Yankee game or the Yankees weren't playing, just so he could watch baseball on Sunday. And
same exact thing with my grandpa.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, it's like, I can't hate on that.
We used to sometimes, if the game wasn't on, same thing. We used to go sit out on the porch, and we would listen to a game. I got to tell you too, sitting out on the porch with my grandpa, watching people, walk up and down the street, like people watching, and listening to a game, I think is something that doesn't happen. Well, I'm out of touch, but like, I feel like it's a lost art. I feel like it used to happen way more back in the day. But on a beautiful summer night, my grandpa would go sit on the porch, and his big thing was like, he used to be like, he thought a big treat for me was, he's like, I'll take you to the store, I'll get you some Coca-Cola. So he'd be like, all right, so we go down to the corner, he'd buy a 6-pack of Coca-Cola, and then we go on the porch, crack open 2 of them, put the game on, and just kind of listen to it. Man, it's so simple, but so like, you look back on those things, and that is the most golden time, like.
It's so funny we're talking about that right now, because my next thing I want to talk about is, obviously how things aren't simple now, but, the simplest, smallest things, and the things like I was talking about, like eating my breakfast and reading the paper by myself. And those are the memories that you're like, oh my God, that was something in life that is just, that you really can't, or that is another reason why I smoke cigars, right? Is because, so tonight is, today's Bill Burr's birthday.
Yeah. And Bill, happy birthday. I got to text him.
We got a group text, and it was like, hey, are we going to do a virtual cigar? Right. And the reason why is because when you just smoke a cigar and talk to a buddy, it does something to the conversation, and it's a special thing. The way you and your grandfather are having a Coca-Cola, just listening to some people, they don't understand. Like, it's like that alone is like, look, you're talking about it now, so many years later, and you remember it vividly. Which brings me to my next thing, which is kind of crazy and sad, but it's going to have a little optimism here.
Sure.
With everything going on right now, and you could hear me okay, right?
I hear you, babe.
Okay. With everything going on in the world and everything, COVID to, the terrible, terrible thing that we saw with, George Floyd, the guy getting murdered on camera, and then the protests and the riots and this groups and that group, just everything, that the uproar that we're witnessing right now.
Right.
I got this feeling, and somebody's going to go, oh, fucking Virzi optimistic. I think once COVID dies down, and maybe it's an easy prediction to say, because how could 2021 be worse? But not only do I think things are going to get better, I have this feeling, Sal, and tell me what you think. And listen, honestly, if you disagree, I'd love to hear that too, of course. But I feel like with the shit storm that's happened, COVID. Me and my whole family had COVID. I was scared to death because we got it when it was like, when it just dropped like a new album.
You copped that shit on the first day.
Yo, if COVID,
like Funk Master just like hitting the bomb. Funk Master, yo, you get out and cop that COVID today.
Yo, I was online the night before for that shit. Right? So I get it. I don't know if I'm going to wake up, need a ventilator, lose my smell and taste. Stacy then does. My kids are acting a little funny. It was a scary time. Then going through everything, staying home. Everybody's got that going on, right? Then we see what's going on with the injustice and then the protests and then people, all this stuff. I think around August, September, when the COVID thing really, when people go into phase 2 and 3 and could go sit in a restaurant again, talk, people aren't getting sick again, and people really start treating each other as human beings again and get back out there and this thing dies down. Not only do I think 2021, of course, will be better, because how could it be worse than 2020? But I think you're going to see something different. I think being inside made people appreciate things. I think, and I could be wrong, I hope I'm not, but I think the comedy audience will now be not as sensitive, I think. I think that if you go into a joke and you go to of course, there's going to be the people that want a problem. I think there's going to be the people that want it, but there's always going to be that. But I think for the most
overall in the air type of thing.
Overall, like after being locked up in your house for this, not locked up, but being, you can't go out, you can't go to an establishment and see entertainment, you can't go to a concert and listen to music. I think then all of a sudden you pay for a ticket, right? And you pay for a 2-drink minimum, and you're going to watch 5, 6 of the best comedians in New York City or the country, whatever club you're at. And to be a dick after that, and we talked about that. I talked about that with Ronnie Chang too. It's like, to be a dick after that, after you're like, now you're out. You got to remember what it was like. I'm hoping that things will be better. And I'm also hoping people start treating each other better and there's not this riff anymore. But then again, how much worse? It can't be worse than 2020. What do you think? Or do you think it's going to go back to the way that it was?
No, I mean, I'm with you. That's what I'm hoping. I mean, look, before even this last 2 weeks with the terrible thing that happened, it's like I was already, just from, us all sharing this universal experience of being like having to stay home and worrying about our health, and a lot of big question marks, and we had this shared anxiety. We went through that together, everyone, the world, and then even just like kind of, look, despite even that, we have it the best that anyone's ever had it in generations and generations. It's funny, like
100%.
We're getting tested in this way, and for damn sure, I don't want to short sell how scary that was.
Yeah.
But you look back on history and other decades and other countries and areas, and some people are born into persecution and whatever, they live in war-torn countries. So like, I can't even imagine. It just gives you we know, but then you dip your toe in a little adversity, and then you get a little perspective and say, my God, like, these other countries, like, we don't get their news every day unless you're searching it out. Their main goal to wake up and to live or to be free and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, we went through this, but if the worst of this is that, thank God I didn't, lose anyone close to me just yet. But I feel the pain. I'm like an empath and everything, and I felt everyone's pain, but I tried to stay positive and productive and make the best of what's going on here and use the quality time that we've never had before. Just a silver lining of it. But, you find yourself saying like, yo, you remember going out to eat?
Yeah.
You remember going to the movies? So like we said, like, when we're allowed to do that, if everyone is not taking a little inventory on how lucky we are to get back and do that stuff, like, I am going to, we're out, you end up taking things for granted, such is life. But like, I know me personally, I am so appreciative. Like, when I'm going to get on stage again, see my friends again, go out to eat again, hug my parents again, like, all that stuff, the boys all hanging out again. Like, I think people are going to just be bursting, with joy in that respect. And then I do hope that everything that political has been happening and all this, like the race stuff and this terrible stuff, I feel hopeful. It's hard, man, because you go online and you absorb everything you see. you know, and
Yeah.
you have to find a delicate balance between being informed and speaking up a little bit, and also listening, and also taking a step back a minute, because you fill your mind.
Yeah.
I always have nightmares, you know, watching these videos, and you want to know what's going on, and you want to be right there, and you want to be informed, and you want to lend the support to the people who need it. But then all of a sudden too, your mental health is like, I'm telling you, man, these last couple of weeks have been, I'm sure for everyone, but some of the hardest weeks I've had. I can only remember like 9/11 feeling this way, like, and having anxiety come back, and sleepless nights, and not even ashamed or afraid to say it, but I would break down and cry a bunch. And I just feel like, you know, we've hit a rock bottom with all this stuff, so there can't be anywhere to go but up.
Yeah, I mean, if 2020, you know, unless 2021's a doozy.
You know, let me take that back, because I don't want to jinx us, but I mean, I hope there's nowhere to go but up. But you know, if you seek the positive news and the positive people, and you try to like fill your head with that a little bit too, not just the violence and the you know, and the dissent and all that stuff, and you know, so you look at all the people that are striving to unify and to help, and that are well intentioned. You focus on that, and then you get that nugget, like you get the bit of hope, and coupled with the fact that, you know, you're hoping that we're coming to the end of this thing too. And I do really hope that people get out and it's like kumbaya, you know, like I hope that we're all just happy for every little thing, you know. Oh shit, we're gonna go get a slice of pizza. Oh shit, I get to see my friend I haven't seen in so long. Oh shit, like culture's changing, you know, like people are changing. People are, you know, I don't know, people, you know, are getting more informed now. That's not a, you know, that's only a good thing. You know what I mean? All around, like, to, you know, this is hopefully getting a lot of people on the same page as each other. You know what I mean?
I see, you know, you're a lot, I mean, I think the reason why me and you get along, we always have gotten along, is like, it's kind of like logical, and like, I'm empathetic too, and I see everybody's side, but sometimes that can hurt, because when you talk to somebody and you see, you know, I've lost followers on social media because of both things. And I just said, you know what, man, like, I can't win with this, but like, I totally understand, you know, how somebody feels, and seeing that injustice and seeing what happened to George Floyd, man, like that, I don't care. That's not about race, man. That's a human being that gets you fired up. But then I know some amazing police officers that are friends of mine, and they're feeling pain too now.
Yeah, well, but that's the problem with social media, right?
Yeah.
So back in the day, our parents and everything, like you choose to watch the news or not watch the news, and then you take in what you see. And then you go on, make a phone call or go to the corner store. And if you decide to talk about that with someone, then you talk about that with someone, but it kind of ends there. Now with social media, it's saturation, everything all the time, all news all the time, everyone sharing it. And the way that social media is built is that it is no nuance allowed. You know, Twitter, which is the go-to for politics and political talk, is the worst platform for it. You're limited in characters. Everybody's trying to prove a point.
Yep.
Everybody is getting on there with emotion, and rightfully so. But like, you know, in real life, when you're speaking to someone, it's always best to let your emotions settle a little in order to both reach some type of, you know, conversation, some type of common ground. But on Twitter, it's like, there's no accountability, because there are bots, there are trolls, there are people hiding behind, you know, not their real identities, and people want to just mic drop all the time on Twitter. They want to prove someone wrong. They want to, you know what I mean? And there's no like, and if you say one thing, no matter what, it's the law of averages. This mob, no matter from what's where and who, is going to assign you what they thought you meant, and then that's it.
And that's it.
You know? So like, you say Black Lives Matter, which, holy fucking shit, I'll say it to the day I die. That's insane. You know, then someone says, well, then all lives matter. Yeah, of course we know that. We're talking about this for them right now. Well, you know, white people get brutalized too. Okay, I'm not saying they don't. Let's have this conversation, then let's have that one.
That's
you know
the
what I mean? Okay. You know, like, well, fuck the cops, right? Okay. Well, is every cop bad? Of course not. Of course not. Is there a problem? I mean, even good cops, even people, conservative, anyone could see that there's a problem. So we just want to fix the problem. I have I have mixed race in my family. I have plenty of black friends. I have trans friends, gay friends. I grew up around that. People feel what they don't know. I grew up I have unique perspective. You know, I grew up on Staten Island, which is largely conservative. And I grew up in a white neighborhood. I grew up in a mixed neighborhood, and I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood. All three of those I spent years in, you know, and so I know that, like, you know, I know the people that aren't from New York or just didn't have my experience, they're not going to have the same takeaways as me, right? And they fear, you know, what they don't know. And then you say something like, you know, like I have like I said, I have cops in my family as well. So it's like I have all sides swirling around me.
Yeah, this is why you cried some nights.
Yeah, because sure. Do I know people, friends, long time, 20. I know cops, retired cops, never had a complaint against them. I know people that are on the side. What about minority cops or black cops or people or good cops that never did anything, but then they have to face this because of the larger problem? You know what I mean? So, and these people are going to look, don't get me wrong. Again, people will even watch this and they'll hear whatever they want. I'm against any violence. I'm against police brutality. I'm not going to tell any black person how to feel right now, nor do I have a right to. I don't like the looting, and especially not the violence at all. But I'm going to say I wish it didn't happen, but there's real life, and how desperate do these people have to be to get to that point? And then you could still say, just protest. You don't have to do that. Okay, I hear you there too, but I'm not in their shoes. And when an entire race is screaming to us for help, you know, you look at them and you say, how can I help? You know what I mean? And if it's a few people, or if it's a system that's set up that they're saying, can you please take a look at this at least? Can we just all look at it together? Like, you know what I mean? Sure, let's look at it together. But then you got those people who are like, fuck cops, fuck all cops. That's hard too, you know? I got family and friends and people that when they leave the house, they don't want to be in those riots. They don't want to be part of those people. They don't want to be part of those people throwing tear gas. They're afraid they're going to come back to their families or not. You know, there are people that still got into law enforcement because, you know, they wanted to provide for their families and thought it was noble too. So it's like, you know, you can't have the nuanced conversation like that.
No.
Social media.
And I think that's why, you know, like I said, me and you are similar that way. And we have friends that are similar that way. And I feel like all the guys that we're friends with and talk to, even in the clubs, you kind of, what's it called? The same thing attracts each other, right? When I'm like that too. I could sit down with a glass of wine and you could say, yeah, I see this and I see that. And it sucks that everybody's hurting. And like you said, same with me, man. I have black friends, I have cop friends and all this stuff. And just seeing everything's going on, man, I just want everybody to be, I just want it to go away, but in a good way, not going away in a way where like, and I know it sounds so corny, Sal, but I've said it to Lucas and Sophia. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and just treat people as humans. And the best thing to do is, if
it seems simple, right?
Somebody said, who said it? It was a great thing. Like, you show up to a house party, right? You show up to a house party and you're only going to know 2 or 3 people at this house party, but it's a rockin' party, right? And you walk in. If you got treated the way that you would treat that person that walked in, right? And all of a sudden they're disarmed, they're not weird, and all of a sudden it's like, if you look at life like that, you just treat people like that. But it's like you said, people will listen to us right now, listen to this podcast, and they're going to make up what they want to make up. I've always been consistent with that. My problem is I go hard at both sides that I disagree with, to the point where I'm like, no, how could you not see that? What do you wake the fuck up? And then I'll go to this pig, go, you people are out of your mind. And it's like, you know what? There's always going to be far on both sides that you can't reason with. Unfortunately, there's people you cannot reason with. There's just,
and those people, and if you try, so here's another thing about social media, right? You know, and you get it from both sides. It's almost even crazy if you're like somewhere middle road or moderate, which, if you're someone who's moderate, it's like you can say something to piss off both sides. Sides, and then they both come at you. Because like, let's say,
no, absolutely.
People love to assume what you are too. I hate labeling shit. I hate labels. I just hate it. But people love to assume what you are. If you say a statement, they'll be like, you're a libtard, you're a conservative, anything. It's just about like, we're shouting into a void. Nobody's really flipping. Anyone who's going online that's already closed-minded, you are not changing their mind. And I don't think
Never.
necessarily Twitter or something like that is the place that you're going to change anyone's mind. I think we're collectively draining ourselves as a society. You know, when I like to go to, I did a lot this week. Like I like to go to a friend's house, a family member's house, and I like to talk to those people directly and and listen and don't attack, and speak and don't attack, and see where we're meeting, some common ground, some not, some agree to disagree, and then you shake hands and you both mean well and you love them, and that's kind of it. And I'm not trying to like be, like you just said, trite or anything like that.
Yeah.
But this is how I am. I treat everybody like that. And so, you know, so this thing happens, right? This thing happens a couple of weeks ago. And right away, you know, people have to, we all have to process this. It's happening a mile an hour, like 100 miles an hour. And we're getting information, this conflicting information, everything like that, like all this kind of stuff. And then you'll get people, like say the left, you'll get people like, yo, everyone's got to speak up. You got to use your platform. If you're not using the platform, you're complicit. And then you get people like, and then you say, yo, this, and this, like, I'm using my platform. And like half those same people go, yo, fuck you. You're not supposed to be talking right now. We're going to listen to you. We're supposed to learn some of you. Just shut up. You know, and you're like, well, I want to use my platform. I want to shut up. I want to do everything that everybody wants me to do. But what about what I'm trying to do? What about what is my intention? My intention's good, you know? Like, look at the person's intention first. You know what I mean? And then you say something like, you know, like, oh my God, it's just terrible. And it's like, who wants to invite that into their lives? Like, I think you can affect change like this. Like, we're having a conversation. People decide to download this. They listen to it for the whole time. They come away with it. I agreed. I disagreed. But it's not like, fuck you. This is the guy. Retweet this. Go after him.
Right.
It's just like, guys, people, you're scaring people away from the conversation.
That's a great point. It's like the beautiful thing about the United States is, and it's like you said, you can have people in your family that you love dearly, that you grew up with, either relatives that aren't in your immediate family or your immediate family, siblings or not. And you could get together and you got to just I think I do it the best way. I sit down, we talk it out, and then they leave and I talk behind the backs of the people I disagree with. That's what families do.
It's so funny too. Growing up, I mean, I was never political, and I'm really not political now. And that's why, like, you know what I hate too? I'm jumping all over the place, but I hate stick to comedy. It's like, bro, like, that's insane. That's like telling anyone to stick to their regular job and not talk about humanity.
Yeah. And what about somebody who's got a shitty job? Like, yo, stick to that, you know, candy store. It's like, what?
Stick to anything, right? Yeah. Yo, stick to the Gap. Yo, stick to the car wash. Yo, stick to finance. It's like, I'm a comedian, but I'm a human being first, bitch. Like, I'm going to talk about this stuff. You know what I mean?
Stick to painting. You know, it's like, people have ideas.
Somebody, you know, and it's just like, you know, and you know what I started doing when online, I try to unify when I speak, because especially when I'm speaking online, for the reasons I just told you, it's almost like a lose-lose.
Yeah.
So instead, I always try to come at it from a place of disarming. And I was a bartender for a decade, bro. You know what they say, like, you don't really talk religion and politics and that stuff in the bar. And I had a unique perspective because I worked at a bar that was a real artist type bar in like a real artist neighborhood. And it was filled with musicians, like painters, comics, all this stuff. But the owners and the people, a lot of the people that frequented it, that helped build it, were also pretty staunch Republicans.
Is this in Staten Island?
It is, yeah. And so I unified those people, man. I bartended for a decade there. And I had the artist and the Republican next to each other, but everybody was friends because it's a goddamn bar. And that was our watering hole. And everyone was friends first. You know, they could talk about politics and disagree. It happened all the time. It used to happen. Now it's like you're right or you're wrong. And now it's like, and also, I'm sorry. I loved your show, or I loved you before I knew what you believed in, but you believe in this. I hate your show now.
Well,
I hate you now. I found out what you're about. What are we talking about?
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you a question.
The forest through the trees, we can't get along. And I get it. I get there are extremes going on that are unreasonable for people to accept. But all I'm just talking about is day to day. Online is not like real life, man. I see somebody in the street, it ain't going down like that.
No, it's because they're hiding behind a computer. They're hiding behind a social media platform like Twitter. You know, I told you, like, The only bad feedback of my special got 98% good feedback. The only bad feedback was, yeah, it was funny until I realized his Democratic. What do you mean Trump is tweeting? And I'm like, dude. So I actually went to one guy. I went back to a guy, which I shouldn't have done. It was a rookie move after my first special. And I was warned. Burr said, when you do a special, you get to another level in the business, and it's going to be, he said, it's like a 2-month adjustment, because people are going to go at you, and they're going to go at you personally, because you're going to touch on something that they're not going to like.
That's the nature of our job. That's the nature of our job.
And the one,
more so, you even more so, because you're like a mix of like, you'll touch that stuff. Me, I'm like, a lot of my shit is like more just like lighthearted stuff, but I want to talk about some stuff like sometimes, but then I'm like, I'm not as passionate. Like, you tell you the truth, I just don't want to invite that conversation. I want to.
No, I don't either. But when somebody personally attacks me, I went at this one guy at like a rookie move, like I said, and I go, hey buddy, did you listen to the whole thing? That I'm like, and then the guy actually said, he goes, oh man, I'm a fan, man. I'm just messing. And it wasn't even real. His hate wasn't even real. He wanted to be heard. But I got a question for you, because, and this is going to just show you, and it's going to go back to what we said. There's certain people that can't be helped, and there's certain people that are always going to be a problem. You've been doing Impractical Jokers for 8 years, 9 years?
9 years. Yep.
Okay. So you've been doing a family-friendly.
Yeah, it turned into that.
Yeah. No cursing. Yeah. It's fun. 4 guys goofing off on each other. You do this in a challenge to win this and that. And I've watched it. And before me and you were friends, and you know this, yes. when we knew of each other in the business and we just saw each other's social media, we didn't know each other.
Right.
And you would see me say, the things that I sit at night and watch is Shark Tank and Impractical Jokers, and Impractical Jokers has me crying laughing. Now, a show like yours, which is family friendly, 8-year-olds go, or 70-year-olds. I bet you've had somebody come up to you, and I bet you said, I didn't really agree with that. That was too much. Have you had anything like that or no?
Oh yeah, all the time, because we try to within that half hour, we try to give a little something to every demographic if we could. We'll try to jokes that go over kids' heads, maybe a little blue, maybe a little like odd or more esoteric jokes. Maybe we'll go in on, we don't care, we'll go in on anybody. You know what I mean? So we mostly people just understand it and take it for what it is, but it's inevitable that someone might come and be like, I didn't like that, or I didn't like that. And our show is predicated on saying things that we don't want to say, just to see how far we'll go too. So like it invites it a little bit. But
have you ever had like a how dare you or no?
I gotta imagine we have. Like, nothing comes to mind, but
good.
I gotta imagine we have. But it's just, it is what it is. Like, so online, I was saying before, it's like I had people come at me for writing things that I can prove a point to you right now. Me and you could like think of a tweet right now that's completely innocuous. I'll tweet it, and we could wait, check back 2 minutes later. It'll be 80%, hey, love you, 10%,
always,
I'm behind you, and 10%, you're fucking, I don't agree with you, blah, 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 blah. But I've especially in the last couple of weeks, I think it's way more important to adjust gears here and to talk to people. If we're not going to find common ground, we ain't doing shit. And so a lot of people that have come at me, not even as a criticism, just like a fucking like, fuck you, or, I completely disagree with you. I just would go on and be like, hey, why? Like, talk to me. And then they would say why. And I'd be like, all right, well, I think this and you think that, and I think this and you think that. And as long as you talk to them with respect, and then say, well, I see why, you're saying that, but I feel this way because of that. And even if you end up agreeing to disagree, it really does feel good to come away from a conversation with someone that's not filled with venom and toxicity and animosity. Even if they come at you first, I do it just to see too. When someone comes at me real hard, I'll just be like, hey man, like I'm not even going for that. Like, like I'm not trying to do that. Like, let's talk or whatever. And they immediately, for the most part, are like, oh yeah, well, and you disarm them.
Yeah, you disarm them. And then you
talk a little bit, even if you disagree, you could talk a little bit. And then at the end of it, it's like, all right, man, hey, stay safe, have a good day. How are you gonna tell someone fuck you when they're telling you and your family stay safe, have a good day? No, really, it is what it is. It is
Yeah,
what it is. But as far as like, like the injustices and stuff, it's like, I'm not gonna not say, like, I feel bad, like, that people feel afraid to maybe speak up. I understand that, like, the world we live in now, of this cancel culture, of mob mentality, like, it's almost like really scary to speak up. And so I don't fault people who don't immediately speak up, or also I don't assume that I know what the fuck is going on in their life. Right. I don't assume that I know that they're not hitting the pavement, doing whatever they need to do in their real life with people they know, with charities, with protests, or vice versa, whatever is their thing. I'm not going to flippantly look online, see that they didn't say what I needed them to say, and then chastise them for that.
No.
I understand that now is a sweeping movement, and every voice counts. And I understand that people will say for that on both sides, whatever it is. But, like, people also need time to process and get there. And I don't know how they're working on themselves. I would never, ever assume. So I got that a lot too. Like, I had someone very close to me, actually. And I haven't addressed it yet because I was so upset when it happened to me. And I took a moment to write back to them. I swear to God, dude, I wrote for like 2 hours. Well, wow. I just wrote back because they wrote to me, and they I'm not going to get into detail, but they wrote to me. They made a few assumptions, and this is someone I know very well, and that I thought they knew, like, my character and integrity, because I like to believe that I am pretty consistent in the way that I treat people and act for my whole life. And so, like, when you do that, I know you sleep a little better, and I that's what I strive for anyway. And I was attacked by this person, and it took me off guard because that's not me, And the person was so misguided. They flippantly looked at something, and they didn't see something they liked. And then they came after me for that. And little did they know that they just didn't look in the right places. Mm-hmm. And everything that they said to me was so misguided and so far off. And it was so painful to hear, because we're all going through a tough time right now. And despite the pandemic, and despite, what happened to this poor man, and despite our own personal daily family problems, nobody knows what's going on with anybody else.
No.
And at first I was mad, and I was going to call them or write them. And my feeling was anger, and then I said, don't react emotionally. And then I wrote everything out so I can send it to them. And then I said, this isn't even right. I'd rather get him on the phone. And then I was going to get him on the phone, and I just wanted to step away from it even more. And then I was like, I don't know this person any answers. But then I keep flip-flopping. And I know though that I'm going to be like, no, I'm going to get the person on the phone. I'm going to say myself. And then hopefully on the other end of it, we both come out better, because I don't think it was fair, I wouldn't do that. I hate.
Well, you were hurt. You were hurt.
I was, and I hate when people don't give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Especially when you know somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you know somebody and they're just so emotional. And that's what it is too. I think, like, time. So, like, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you about, you think people's voice should be heard now, but you said something. But I know what you're saying. You also said you understand it takes time. Here's the problem with
it's not black and white.
It's not black and white.
Yes, we got to speak up. Yes, people are scared. Yes, we have to process it. Yes, fuck processing. Now's the time. Yes, this, yes, that. But it's coming at us from every angle.
And nobody should be judged if they need a week to look at it. But here's the thing. It's like, oh, you talk too much. Why don't you mind your business and shut up? You don't know how we feel. Well, what about this side? Okay, fine. But then you don't say anything. And then all of a sudden, and this is one thing I did not like. And I'm not going to mention the comedian's name, but there was somebody going, hey, you comedians that are just not talking about this, like, if you're going to do that shit. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Okay, you know what? Today was my stepfather's birthday, and instead of worrying about things that are going on like I've been for fucking 2 months, me and my stepfather are going to play golf. And then you know what else? My son wanted me to take him somewhere. So I'm sorry if my fucking voice of what you wanted me to talk about, my family was more important that day. So there was almost like this, like, reverse bullying where it's like, you're telling me that if I don't speak up on fucking social media right now, that I'm compliant or I'm complacent with everything going on. It's like, no, I'm teaching my son how to play fucking golf and hang out with his dad. And then I'll fucking process it and get to it. And that's what I don't like. And I don't like how they're like, yeah, we know, we're watching. You could feel that.
Something similar happened to me. Like during this pandemic, both of my parents my parents were separated, divorced when I was little. Both of them moved, and both are older. They're both, well, even my stepmom, so I should say all of my parents are older, like 70s or close to, and they're all in some way immunocompromised. And they had to move basically during the pandemic, and I had to help them. And I was, like you said, we had so this has been a trying time just personally. And then and then it's also like, oh my God. And then you want to watch everything and read everything and then assimilate, exactly what you want to say, because you have to say it, in a way where, like you get the right point across. Because if you maybe just say something without thinking exactly what you're saying, you can be at the other end of everyone's ire and madness. So you take a moment, but then it's also like, I don't live and die online. I've done more offline for the things that have been going on in the last couple of weeks than I have online. And I don't mind. It's so funny. Sometimes people will share something, sign this petition, donate to this. I just did. And you get two people. You get, okay, thank you so much for spreading that good word. Then you get the same exact side going, or the other side going, okay, thanks that you had to show everybody that you did something good. So, which is it? Like, which is it? There's no answer. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I choose not necessarily to put everything out there that I do, like, because I have to put my head down on the pillow at night. I don't have to answer to nobody else. So I know all the things I'm doing, and I'm doing a lot. I really am, for myself, I really am taking inventory. I really am taking this seriously, like, because it just, I need to reconcile it too. I need to feel better. I need to feel hopeful, and I want to help any way that I can, everybody, so yeah. So my point is that, a lot of people have really, really good intentions and are figuring it out. And I think it's counterproductive to attack people, just based on your barometer of how righteous or vocal you think they should be. Now, I'm not even saying that we shouldn't push people to speak, because that too, but there's a way, there's a nudge, or just speak, disarm first, say, hey, how's it been going for you? Have you what's your take on this? And
like, how you feeling?
If it doesn't align with your take,
right,
maybe ask them why, and what they think and what they feel and who they're surrounding themselves with and where they see it going. And then also it's like, hey, I've done this, this, and this, and but you haven't done that. No. Well, would you consider it? I'm doing a fundraiser. I'm doing this, or anything. Would you consider it? And sure, I'll consider it. But the way to just be like, yo, fuck you, or this or that, it's just like, that ain't helping, man.
No.
And there's extremes. There's extreme left, there's extreme right, right? And that's going to be hard to get them here, I think. But most people are in between the goalposts, and most people want the same thing. They want humanity and kindness. Like, racism is a whole motherfucking thing. Like, the issues and all these things on tape of police interactions with brutality. There's no denying these things that are on tape. It's okay. It doesn't mean that every cop is a piece of shit fuck who should be dead and not even look my way. No, but can you help us address these things? Because these things are bad. They're reflecting bad on you. Would you mind helping us? You know what I mean? I have Black loved ones close to me. I have colleagues, people in my family, friends. They're looking to us saying, we're crying, we're desperate, we need help. Fuck yeah, I'm going to help them all I can. I got people saying, but Sal, I'm a cop. You know me. I'm a good person. I'm going to work tonight. I don't know if I'm going to make it out. And I said, I feel for you, man. I feel for you. I understand, but we are caught in a tidal wave. This is the result of letting something lie for way too long. And now, and this is cyclical throughout history. And you know, you just got to step back and you say, what is the right thing? It's not about condemning everyone. You know, I condemn violence, I condemn police brutality, I condemn the looting, but I'm not going to tell people what to do with how they feel. I do not go through what they went through. I'm not in their shoes, no matter how much I think I can relate. I cannot. And I'm just going to watch and say, this is fucking unfortunate. What can I do to stop this? What can I do to at least stop the violence on both ends, to help both sides? What can I do? You need a unifying voice. You know what I mean? I preach love and peace, and you might fucking make fun of me for that. People get on, hey, you cuck, or fucking like whatever. And all of a sudden you say love and peace, you're a Democrat. All of a sudden you say, well, I know a really good cop, you're a fucking conservative piece of shit. It's like, why? I love so many fucking people. And if you want to call me like some herb or some cuck or some guy who's afraid to take sides, it ain't about that, man. That's not who I am.
And I was just going to say, you took the words out of my mouth. That is like, you know, Sal, you know that I've said this before about you. That is not who, and for anybody listening to the show, and I know you've seen Sal's been on the show a couple times, but you really are, and I'm not saying this to make you feel like this guy that you see that is fucking sensitive about these things and truly cares, truly gives a fuck. Sal gives a fuck about people. The joke about you amongst all of us is like, does he have like dead hookers in his closet? There's no way that this dude can give a fuck, and you really do. And I can see the pain, and I understand that you're going through it, and I understand that you worried about it. Now, I mean,
it's not about me. I'm not trying to make anything about me, but
no.
But actually, I'm so happy actually about this conversation, because I haven't been able to speak to anyone like this in a public forum, which we're going to post this. And like I said, you lose a lot. You lose something on typing with 120 characters.
You do.
You know, and you know, if anyone's going to put the time in to invest to watch this thing from beginning to end, I just hope that just some positivity can be taken away from it. That's all, you know, like and
you said talking. It's like talking. Like if you text somebody, right? If you text somebody, hey, Paul, you want to come over and go get a drink later? And I go, okay, sounds great. And in your mind, you're like, well, that was quick. Maybe he doesn't want to. But maybe I'm running to the bathroom, right? And in my mind, I want to do it. So actually sitting with somebody and going, hey, man, what's going on? And I'm feeling family members out about everything. I have family members on both sides.
Same.
You know, same with you. I have family members on both sides who see things, and, you know, one can't be talked to and the other can't be talked to. So I kind of just say, Stacy, you know, my wife too, she doesn't fuck with. Stacy goes, you're not doing it in my house. So you come to the house and we're going to talk.
I've had a lot of tough conversations these last few weeks.
Yeah. And
I'm making sure I have them.
Yeah, no. But we're talking about people that will not agree, like to the point where it's like it's going to ruin the time. And the kids are looking, and the kids are going, well, and it's like you said, the ones on the far right and the ones on the far left. I'm not saying my family's like that, like they can talk, but it just gets to a point where it's like nobody's leaving that party changed.
Right.
I
think we need to build a bridge, you know, and I think it's okay for some people to be like, you know what, I see your point. I don't agree with you, but I can't fault you for how you think. That's right. I think that's progress. I'm not saying someone's going to flip someone to any other beliefs, but if you could walk away, at least not at each other's fucking throats, I think that's positive. I would stay away from politics all the time, but I'm not now with friends and family and loved ones. You know, I'm not. And and I want to be part of the conversation for those who want to have a conversation.
I could see that you were bottled up. You needed this. I could see it. I could see it.
I wanted to get a lot of this out, and I'm not the guy to turn on my. I don't know. I feel silly talking to people like how people can just talk to camera.
Yeah.
I was like thinking like I'm maybe gonna do that, because I just think that I'll put myself out there. I just will put myself out there because I think it's important. I think it's important to. If I can speak in a way that's level-headed, that would just in any way, shape, or form help anyone at any point with anything, then I'm going to try to take the opportunity to do that. And it's so much easier to speak to a friend and bounce things back and forth off someone and see how two people can talk about something like this. You know, obviously emotions are. It was like a tinderbox, you know, they're high. And that's also like when you go online, it's like, whew, you step right in the middle of that, and you come out of that with your head spinning.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it's just all it is. It's just, but when you can interpret tone and intent and like stuff like this, I think it'll go a lot further. And I didn't know we were going to talk about this stuff, but you're right. I'm probably unloading because this is all
I knew.
I'm telling you, dude, I've lost.
Well, that's why we didn't do it last week. That's why we didn't do it last week. It wasn't a time to do it. And I knew that we would obviously listen, man. We're two comedians that are in the New York scene, and New York has been. I mean, I know that what happened in Minnesota, but I'm talking about COVID was the epicenter. You live there, and it's like a lot of stuff. New York with the protests and everything, and the looting, and a lot of streets need to be rebuilt now, and a lot of stores and all the stuff that you're seeing.
It's so heartbreaking, man.
And it's what it is. I was telling somebody this the other day. Even with COVID, forget what happened 2 weeks ago.
People were
just COVID. Yeah. Just COVID. Subconsciously, we went through something psychologically. Psychologically being told, first of all, we were all afraid for 2 months. I mean, you're a germaphobe. You were probably in a fucking bubble. Right? So
I still am not good.
Yeah. So we're all afraid for just COVID. We're in the house, and then I don't know when I had it. Like I said, am I going to be on a ventilator? And then okay, fine, I got the good one at least. But now, can I get it again? What's going on? When can I go out? And all that pent up, and then this happens. Psychologically, people have taken 2020 from March till right now has probably been one of the most hardest times mentally for people in this country. Actually, COVID around the world, but now, man, so, back full circle, 2021, get here quick and be better. And hopefully we could start healing. And I could tell that you need to talk. I can tell that you're pent up. You are we were actually talking about you the other day. It's just so funny. I got to tell the story. If I didn't say it before, I might have told it if I told the story on another podcast, but for the new listeners, I gave a speech at Giannis Papas's wedding, right? And at the end of it, Giannis is wiping his face. So afterwards, people were saying, oh, good speech. And I went to there was 20 something of like some of the best comedians in New York. And they were like, good speech. So I went over and we were there, and I walk over by your table, and I was like, man, I'm just glad like Giannis was crying. I'm glad it hit, and somebody just goes, oh, Sal was a mess during the whole thing. And I was like, but that's who you are. You are that. And you know what? That's what makes you unique. That's what makes you the dude that we all know you are. And it's like when you come across somebody, because people know that me and you were boys, but they know me and everybody else through stand-up, right?
Right.
So you came into stand-up. You were doing stand-up more recently, and somebody's like, oh man, you friends with Sal from Impractical Jokers, like, and I'm like, I'm like, dude, whatever you see in Practical Jokers, I was like, that dude is one of the kindest people, and you make me feel like a piece of shit how much you give a fuck. Because listen, I give a fuck, but now I'm like, yo, man, I didn't know how much sleep I lost. But then because me though, I try to do the thing where I'm like, things are going to be better. My defense mechanism is let's get past it. My defense mechanism is let's get better and better. Not that I'm ignoring it, and not that I'm not seeing how things are bad, but like when things are shitty for a long time like they've been, now I'm done. Like I'm going to Arizona Friday, and I'm doing stand-up for the first time. And today they were like, oh, there's a spike. There was a spike, and I don't know, and I'm like, well, listen, I have the antibodies, but I'm still, let me know. I don't want to put any. And they were like, no, you know what? Things are good and people are still coming. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go. Everybody's going to be careful. But like, I need it now. Like for a while I was fine. Yes, I'm going to miss the stuff, but listen, there's not too many clubs doing this. So I'm going to come right back home and but I need to get on stage now. I need to tell jokes. I need to see an audience member laughing at something that I said and get back to that and get back to some normalcy for not only for to give joy, but I need it. I need it.
Same, dude, same. And that's why I fucking love stand-up too. It's like, oh my God, like, I don't need to know your political beliefs when you're sitting in the audience. Like, I'm going to say something that's going to make everybody laugh. And when everybody's laughing at the same thing, we're bonding and we're not thinking about all the other fucking things that we have to prove to each other about why someone's right and wrong. I hate that shit.
Yeah.
I also, like, you know, of course, like, I don't know how anyone could be racist. I mean, obviously there is racism might not ever go away. I think it's kind of insane to think that it could. There's 8 billion people and we're all raised and born in certain conditions. You know, I say fuck racism hard, you know, but I'm at a point where I'm like, wait, like we got to reach the racist people too. Like, because otherwise, like, what are we changing? And people aren't born racist. If you have a black person, a Spanish person, a white person, an Asian person, and they were born in the same room as babies, and they had to grow up together, and they didn't know anything else, they would think they were fucking related. They would think that these are my brothers and sisters, and there's no outside interference, and that's it. We're not fucking born this way. Again, this just sounds like, you know, I don't want to be speaking like platitudes, but it is fucking true. Racism is learned. So you say this person's racist, right? What experience did they have? Who did they grow up around? What did they see? What happened to them? Maybe unfortunate, where they can't turn it around. Did somebody get jumped? Did somebody get robbed? You know, when you're little, you hear people speaking racist. You pick that up as normal. Okay, that's where you got it from. That person, what happened to them? Like, it just, something happened to someone along the way at some point that made them that way.
And you know what? I do not want to cut you off here, but I got to tell you something. It's amazing that you just said that. So my father, and I'm doing a joke about how my father grew up in the Bronx in the 1960s, like a Bronx tale. And if one got caught, if the Italians got caught in the African-American neighborhood and vice versa, there would be a problem and all this stuff. And my father just, you know, I grew up with a father who was just, you know, like a fucking De Niro type of guy, but he just had these, and then I found out that my father was almost kidnapped by a black man when he was 5 years old. And it was a traumatizing thing, and he was almost kidnapped. And I was like, oh, so he's got some things. And then one time, Sal, we went to a movie, and it was packed out. We were in Yonkers. We were at Movie Land in Yonkers, me and my brother. And it was one of these, I don't know, Steven Seagal, Van Damme. It was one of these fucking movies. And it's packed, sold out. And my dad's sitting next to a black guy. And I remember looking over, not that I was nervous, because the thing about my dad is my dad will have his views but my dad is a very nice, treats everybody actually nice, but went through things in his neighborhood where he's got that old school thought process. And I remember watching this, and to this day, okay, I'm a little younger than I stuck with me for my whole life. Him and this black guy, there's popcorn, and my dad's just sitting there watching, and something happened either right before the movie started where they burst out laughing together. And I remember watching it. And I remember going like, and my dad's laughing, and the black man said to my father, "Do you want some popcorn?" I don't know if my dad was, I forgot, like, and I watched it, and it was a beautiful thing, man. And it was an amazing moment. And it let me know that in that theater, it's packed, and everybody's excited to see this movie. And it's a simpler time, like we were talking about. We had our candy, our popcorn, you know, fucking gummy bears and shit. And and my dad and this black man had this interaction, and me and my brother, and I was like, you know something? It's taught to you. It's where you grew up, and the things that you hear repeatedly from loved ones and friends. And it's an experience, you know, listen, if you're a 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid and somebody tries to kidnap you, no matter what race, if it's a white guy doing it, if it's an Asian guy doing it, you're going to have you're going to have a thing. And so going back to what you're saying, you're 100% right, where it's not something, you're not born to not like somebody, you know. And it's perfect.
Too, like, I see like this where people don't really realize they have biases. Maybe they're not a full-blown racist, like a hooded racist, which is a whole nother thing. But they have biases, and they'll say like, oh, you know, they'll say like, well, that guy is a good guy, but that guy, I don't like that guy.
Right.
But then, you know, so they'll say, well, it's not everyone. But then when people speak, they speak in general terms.
Yeah.
And then they assign this belief to everybody. It's insane. I grew up. My dad was, I had like 3 jobs when I was growing up, and one of them was a superintendent of these buildings we lived in. And like I said, I lived amongst all races, and my dad had a bunch of people working under him. And he had black friends and black colleagues and workers. And I remember them to this day, Keith and Jimmy, and my young friend Corey, who used to be my next door neighbor, was black. And so I didn't learn anything that way, but I lived in a neighborhood that was at that time conservative and predominantly white, and you would hear people speak that way. And it was up to you I remember you could feel like that doesn't feel right to me. And, but you see it. And when people are amongst each other, they speak more freely, and maybe they show it, even though they would never show it. But you do. We all lived amongst it. And then I moved to a predominantly all Black neighborhood. For years I lived there, and I would walk to the playground, and all my friends then were of mixed race. And I was scared too, like just of neighborhood kids and bigger kids, any color. Like I probably got bullied by Black people, by white people when I was little or not, or, but it's like, we're all going through the same thing, like in different neighborhoods. Like it is what it is. But I think that's basically just people really fear, what they don't know. And they build a narrative in their own head about what they don't know, so it's just like, it's a shame to see that. And I know that people are like, fuck racism. Well, we're all fuck racism and fuck racists. And yeah, I think I hope there's probably way more non-racist than racist, but like also, why racist? Let me talk to a racist. Let me try to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Let me see why they feel that way. Because everything is a spectrum, right? Everything. Your political beliefs are a spectrum. Your sexuality is a spectrum. Your biases is a spectrum. You know what I mean? And it's harder to pull in the people on the extreme ends of the spectrum, but it's possible. But if we can get people like in the middle of the spectrum kind of to at least talk about it, like, because the people that are racist, they think they're right for a reason. Yeah. And whether it's misguided or whether it's an experience they had, we could all be enlightened. We could all learn something. Again, it's like, I don't want to sound trite, and I don't want to sound like, oh, look at this fucking 40-year-old white dude who's successful telling me how to feel. No, I'm not. Stop that, people who talk like that. I'm not doing that. I'm a human being that cares, that's giving my opinion. Yeah. Like you come at somebody like that, you're gonna lose an ally. Or
somebody coming at you like that, Sal. Somebody coming at you like that's really not going to be happy. Is not a happy person, and it's easy for them to automatically shun you. But that's the other thing too. It's like I didn't grow up with any kind of privilege or anything. So like the misconception that like I didn't have it easy.
I grew up probably lower middle class. My dad had like 3 jobs. He was a sanitation man. My mom, for the most part, took care of us. And, I grew up like lower middle class. And I wasn't even in the public or really successful till like my mid to late 30s. So I have a full life of experience here. You know what I mean? I'm also half Puerto Rican and Cuban. Like I come across straight up white and Italian, but I've had experiences there too. So I come from a place of, 40 years of having living in a lot of different neighborhoods, a lot of different experiences. And I just feel like if I can help add to a conversation, I will, but my intentions are good. You know what I mean? So I'd like to see more of that from people, like, I hate that something as true and simple and as Black Lives Matter has to make someone get defensive. It shouldn't. Yes, all of our lives matter, but right now we're just talking about this epidemic that they're crying out for help, and no one has listened for a real long time. Now, this last thing that happened with George Floyd was so graphic and so insane that it was a tipping point. But if you look at a bunch before that, it doesn't happen every time.
No, but I think this one was one.
It was bad.
This one was tough. And, like they're all tough, but they're all brutal, and you see them, and you're like, "What the fuck is that?" I think that one was like, "Fuck."
Wherever you are on the political spectrum, as long as you're not, racist, I think we'd agree. It's unfortunate that sometimes people will say, if you say Black Lives Matter, they think that you mean anti-cop, and the reason for that is because a lot of that movement is anti-cop at large, because there has been this problem that needs to be addressed, and it's not being addressed. And put yourself in anyone else's shoes. This is going to become an hour of platitudes from me. I don't give a shit though, because they're platitudes for a reason. If I saw one of my loved ones under a cop like that, white, Black, Asian, my wife, my sister, whoever you have, my brother, like whatever that is to you, I would feel as enraged. You couldn't tell me how to feel. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I don't want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Now, let's say that shit's happened to me all the time or more than once. You can't get in my head. You can't tell me how to feel. What people should do is stop and go, whoa, we got a fucking problem here. And the best thing to do is to address this problem together. And don't let the good people go down for it. There's a lot of good, but you know, it's way more complicated than that. We know that.
Yeah.
People. I mean, you go back to go back to Serpico. You know what I mean? Like you know, you got people that live in fear to speak up. What happens? They might lose their job. They might get harassed, bullied. They have a family to protect. They have food to put on the table. And so it's not that easy for everyone. And then, you know, you got to go to work and there's like-minded people. Also, dare I say it without getting torn to shreds, I also think a police officer has a hard job. I am not making any excuses for police brutality. It sickens me to the point I throw up and cry. I feel bad about it. I hate it. I despise it. It makes my skin crawl. Being a cop is still a hard job. And I also am not a cop, but I don't condone what they're doing. But I'm just saying for those people, because they're out there that mean well and that are caught in the middle of that have families, I feel for you too. The issue is that people are like, well, Black Lives Matter. People are like, well, what about the cops? What about the cops? What about the cops? Yes, the cops too. And let's address the good cops too after we address this. There's room. Life is long. There's room to address this whole list of things. Let's start at the top and work our way down. And right now, the most important thing is that video and what happens to that man. And as a human beings, no matter what political affiliation we have,
yeah,
it's tough on all of us. I can't even believe I'm getting this emotional.
No, man.
I am because like it just, you know, it is what it is, dude. I've been like this all week, so to talk about it just feels good. But
no, and I want you to. And you,
this is a controversial statement. Black Lives Matter shouldn't be a controversial statement. There are good cops that mean well that are caught in the middle of this. Shouldn't be a controversial statement. Yeah. I'm not telling anyone in what order to deal with them, and I'm not telling anyone how to feel. But I am looking at this and saying, something's got to give, and I want to try to bring more people, you know, together. And I will say this: if the protests remained 100% peaceful, I'm not exactly sure, and I'm speaking honestly, and I wish people would just all be honest with each other. I'm not exactly sure that we would be seeing this tide change that we're seeing right now. I don't mean that people had to die. I don't mean that businesses had to get ruined. I don't mean that, but I can't put myself in other people's shoes, and people may have thought that they have protested enough to no avail, you know, and sometimes no justice, no peace. That's there for a reason. That's been around a long time, that fucking saying. And yeah, while I hate to see it, if this is what was needed for them, then this is a tidal wave that all of us just have to deal with. We have to understand what's going on and learn how to deal with it. And not say, fuck you, you're wrong. You know what I mean? Get out of the way. It's going to happen. Watch it, cry, feel for people on every side that are on the other end of that violence, that are getting their livelihoods torn apart. Sure, there's a contingent of people that are just kind of like immature. They're just, you know, kids. They don't know. They might reflect on what they did during this whole thing and say, that wasn't my most proud moment. Yeah, especially the violence, man, I can't take. And then, you know, the violence is coming from both sides, because now we're fucking in deep. It's quicksand.
Yeah. I think that you
know who's following orders and where those orders are coming from. If you want to flip it to the other side, it's been terrible to see, like, you know, the peaceful protesting happening. But I don't know anything about crowd control, but let's just say, you can show me a video from every side that looks wrong. You could show me a video from every side that looks right. And that's the problem too, right? Is because we don't know the whole story. Some things are clear as day. But like, it's just like, man, what do the people do that just want to help? Like, what do we do? You know, like.
Unfortunately, Sal, and this is a terrible thing to say, but unfortunately, not everybody's like you, man, and myself, and people that are really empathetic about the situation. They're just not. It sucks. But then, you know, but I wanted to say something too, because there's a couple things going on here. Number one, yeah, I mean, the George Floyd one, I watched it. And when I watched it, they're all horrible. Anytime somebody dies, when they're in
torn. I don't want to watch that, right?
No,
You're so torn because you don't want to watch it, but you also
no. I had to watch it. I had to watch it. I watched it, and it was really one of the most sickening things I've seen, not only as a U.S. citizen but as a human being. But I agree. I understand what you're saying too. Like when people are so pissed off, they're going to loot. I do think though that there are people that take advantage of that and just go and do some bad shit. Of course, there's always going to be that.
And it'd be silly to even think otherwise. It's a law of averages. Some people are just they're kind of like, maybe they're just into the mischief of it. They're into the thrill of it. They're into just like, holy shit, let's just go see what's going on. Then they get caught up and they make a decision real quick on the fly because that's an intense situation to be in. And maybe they do something they regret. And then there's people that's like,
what's the least thing you
saw? Like, yo, I want to break a fucking window. I'm not stealing that. I want to break a window because, I don't want anyone to get hurt, but I just want to show that, I don't know, who knows what they're thinking, But it's like, some people are like, someone has to pay. If you're not going to listen to me, someone has to pay. And whether that means I'm going to loot, I want, like, maybe it would have been better. Like, you hate to see a mom and pop. You hate to see someone that came up in the neighborhood that lives there get their stuff destroyed. Corporations, as long as no one's getting hurt, I guess maybe they're a casualty of collateral damage because someone's like, look, I need to do something to reconcile this. And maybe this isn't the best thing to do, but I'm desperate. I'm emotional. I don't know what to do. I'm confused. I don't know how this feeling that I have from seeing that over and over or feeling this way over and over my whole life, it's manifesting itself in a way that has taken the steering of the ship away from me. Like I and then you get out there and you get around other people, like-minded people. And then, in numbers, you see things happening. People in numbers, there's this thing that takes over, this mob mentality, both with protesters or looters or police officers. Like, and it's you're out there and it's every man for himself. It's wild. And
I don't think it's going to change. And do you want to know why it's not going to change? And it's a sad thing to say. I don't think it's going to change, Sal, because I don't think the media, what do you notice that during this whole 2 weeks, and I get it that people want to see, you got to see everything real, but very few times you'll see a clip of somebody hugging somebody from they've shown it.
That doesn't sell. It's right. It's fear mongering. It's advertising based. It's dollar based.
The media, yes,
that model's not going away. Who just tried to do good news? Like, was it John Krasinski? The good news.
Yes. Yeah.
I think he's not doing it anymore. But that stuff doesn't sell. And another thing that's weird is like trying to find nonpartisan reporting. It's tough.
It doesn't exist. I don't even know. Does it exist?
I don't know. And I try to read everything to gain perspective, but people like my older people, like even my family, they're on maybe just Facebook or whatever, but how those algorithms work, where you click on something and then it keeps shoveling more of that into you. And then all of a sudden that's your only news stream. And they don't know any better that there's other perspective, or maybe this is really written with an agenda, this one, or how about this one? It's just a fucking lie. And then they think they're reading and getting informed, and then they think they're getting informed on those things, and then that's dangerous. And I don't know if that's going away. And man, it's just a lot for everyone to digest. All this is just a lot, and it got to me. There was a day last week where, I'm not joking, dude. In three nights, I had maybe 5 hours sleep total in 3 nights. Thankfully, I moved a little past that, but if I'm feeling that way, so many other people, and never mind the people that experience crazy trauma during this too. Like, man, all I know is that my heart aches for everybody, dude. And I don't know. I hope we're turning a corner. I really hope we are, and I hope that we don't see something like this again for forever or for a long, long while. Anyway, I don't know if I'm being like, pie in the sky optimistic, but it's just like dude, we're at a rock bottom right now, man. We're at a rock bottom. So I'm waiting for hope from everybody else.
Sal Vulcano, everybody.
When we post this, I'm sure that I'm sure of it. I'm sure people will write back and criticize things that we said and nitpick it and pull it apart and be ready to mount a defense on a sentence that we said that, look, we're talking off the top of our heads here. You know, we're free associating, and I don't know, but it is what it is. It's important to put a conversation like this out there. So I'm really actually glad we have. Usually, you and I talk about just. I mean, no, you know, it's all laughs, but
well, yeah, no, but you know what? These are important conversations, and you know, being two comedians that go out and do what we do, and it would almost be weird to not address it. I mean, like I said last week, it was just too much going on, but like, you know, and the nice thing is everybody agrees that you saw a man get murdered on camera, and like I said, all the other ones are brutal. But this one, watching it, it just was an uproar, and it came to a head, and that's what's going on now. And for us to talk about it in a very reasonable, like you said, very reasonable way, that's what needs to be done. And like I said, going back to what we talked about, I think, Sal, when this is all said and done, I think that there's going to be more open discussion, and I think it may take a little bit of a lag. It may be but I think over time, I think things were going to get better after this one. I really do, and people are hurting like you are. Look, I mean, you're somebody that none of this stuff affected you personally in your immediate home as far as anything, and look how much you. I mean, I feel like I slept too good last night talking to you, so. I get it, man, and it's a good thing to talk about, and I can tell because we've done podcasts before, and I know that you needed to get it out, and I saw you talking, and I wanted to let you talk, and I'm glad you got emotional because that was in you, brother, and I know the person you are, Sal, and I mean, these people don't understand this fucking guy, man. This guy gives a fuck about, like, I mean, this guy just is considerate as you're considerate. It's just, you're so kind and rare. And it's, and that's why you're
about you. I feel the same about you, and I feel the same about most of the people in my life. So I am hopeful. It is weird. I don't think I've ever had a full on hour podcast where I just spoke politics in my life, but I hope that the people that watch my show and listen to your podcast and choose to listen to this all the way through just took a little something positive away from it. I'm not trying to be preachy at all.
If somebody listens, let's be honest for a second. If somebody listened to this podcast and had a fucking problem with it, I mean, you got to be fucking out of your mind.
Yeah.
Like, if you listen to what me and you said and you're like, no, fuck that, and you're just going to take, I mean, what we're talking about is everybody being treated like a human being, people's feelings, and people need to talk more and things like that, and it's a normal thing. And anybody that's going to see this and go on Twitter or go on my YouTube channel or go there and be like, fuck this and that, it's like, you're the fucking problem, man. You're the problem, because we're just trying to talk. And we're just trying to understand what's going on and try to make this shit, everybody be treated equally. Treat people the way you want to be treated. It always goes back to that. I always told my son.
I tweeted a whole bunch like this week, and a lot of it was that. It was like, hey, another thing, our children are watching, man. Yeah. I mean, I don't have kids. I'm not married. I have kids, but the royal, our children are watching. They're watching this.
Yeah.
Anyway, buddy, I got to be honest, dude. I really, really needed this conversation. I'm so happy that we actually talked about this stuff.
Yeah. So how you doing otherwise?
I'm fucking great, bro.
Any good movies or? No.
All right. I'm good. I'm good. I got a little work because the guys and I had filming this little show from the house where we eat dinner together. So that's like once a week. That's been nice to have conversations. Like, we keep that lighthearted, like on the whole, people come to us for a certain thing. And so we don't kind of touch on that on the show because it's really not why people come to us. And that I could see opening a can of worms if we start to talk about our opinions there. People be like, yo, that's not why we wanted to watch you eat ravioli and fucking tell me about that you tripped and you fell and I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but it's been fun because that's been a really nice, lighthearted, kind of distraction each week. And that's it. I'm doing freaking projects around the house. I'm not handy, but I'm learning to be handy.
Yeah. No, me too.
I
built this studio.
That's dope. Well, then you're way, I saw the picture. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that, dude. I had a leaky shower head. I fixed that. And I painted a little, and I think I put up a light post on my terrace. But
I was going to say, you changed the light bulb and you
fucking. Yeah. No, I'm at the low end of that pay grade, but.
Let's talk about shows real quick. I mean, we're already over an hour. We'll get out of here soon, but this has been it's very rare to do a podcast like the one that just happened. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we've done them many times. We've been on many people's shows. We've been on each other's show, all that stuff. We've talked with each other. When emotion comes out of somebody because of something going on that truly has to come out. Not, oh, you didn't have any. I mean, we start talking about Don Mattingly, okay? So you didn't have any intention.
Right. I'll tell you nothing. I held back. I could have been balling like a son of a bitch, but I kept it in.
I know you did. But like, I can tell when something naturally comes out and has to happen. And when you were going, I was like, you know what? I need to let him go here, because I saw things that you were saying that I was like, oh, this is different. This is not going to be a conversation right now. This is going to be Sal's got some shit going on. And once I saw that, I'm like, he's gotta go and do it. And I, like I said, man, nothing you said was irrational. Nothing you said was telling any one group you're wrong. Nothing you said was that, man. It was like open discussion.
Well, just to be frank, though, absolutely Black Lives Matter. I'm absolutely against police brutality, but I also know that there are so many good cops out there. I just want to fix the system that is causing this. I'm not saying, I don't even know, like, I didn't even read up on the whole yet. Like, I'm not talking in huge blanket statements. Like, I'm not just saying take their jobs, defund. I don't know. Like, I'm still receiving information there, but I'm not anti-cop at all. I'm anti-corruption and I'm anti-brutality, but like, obviously there are good people with families, minority cops, black cops in, like in our families and neighbors that I want to be safe, that I hope do the right thing, that I hope are the ones that come together and change the narrative for the country. And we all end up on the right side of history with this. I'm not even against, like, I can't stand when people condemn someone solely on their political beliefs either. Like, I don't get that. Like, it's so funny, like, when people are like, I'm not going to buy anything from you anymore. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'm not going to watch your show anymore. How could we live like that? Come on, man. Let's just be fucking a little bit more down. Let's just be a little more practical about this. Like, I'm going to disown people in my family. They're going to disown me. I'm going to have a beer and laugh at someone, then find out that they're the opposite views of me and then hate them. Like, just give me a fucking break.
Dude, I said something on Twitter where it was the first time it was a viral thing against me. And I was simply joking. And I said, I either said all my, or most of my atheist friends are full of shit, because I see them go on the plane, do a little sign of the cross, just in case shit happens. Totally joking, dude. When I tell you, you just lost any tickets from me to your show, like, my father had cancer and I sat at his deathbed with cancer. I didn't pray to any God. Bro, it got to the point where I was like, yo, I'm talking about my friends who say they're atheists doing the sign of the cross. And they literally, no. I lost fans to the point where it's like, fuck you, Virzi. And I'm going like, wow, man. Wow. Like, I'm doing that. And but you know something, in all reality though, Sal, it kind of goes to like what Patrice O'Neal and Doug Stanhope do. Patrice O'Neal, rest his soul. They were never going to be fans anyway. Because if somebody is going to be that quick to look at a tweet from a comedian and go, oh, Virzi joking about atheists? Fuck it. It's like, you know what? I don't want you, when I do a theater show and it's packed, I want the opposite in the room.
Right.
I want the opposite in the room. I want to be able to fucking say what I want to say.
And speaking of that, dude, speaking of getting back on the road, which I hope we all do soon, like, I'm even like saying online, like, yo, if you want to come up and talk to me about any of this, like, if I have the time, I will give you my time. If you're a black person that had an experience that you want to vent, if you're an officer that had an experience that needs to get something off their chest, or you want a sounding board, or you heard something I said, you want to talk to me about something I said and have a dialogue, like, we're all human beings, man. I'll talk to anybody as long as it's respectful and maybe we're both helping each other in some way. So
I'm not afraid to say this, Sal. I'm not afraid to say this. I truly believe, I understand that there's problems out there, but I truly believe the way the general public of the way police officers are in general kind of being thrown into not all pieces of shit, but I'm watching things where, like, I have friends that are cops that saw what happened to George Floyd and got sick. And they're looked at right now in a really fucked up way, and it's wrong. And I'm not afraid to say that because I totally agree. It's like, of course, you know what I mean? Like,
well, it's like, look, is every person, like, you can't, that's the thing. It's just, we have, because it's such a fast moving national conversation. People speak, they have to speak to the point, like, and if you sat down with someone who was very upset about, let's say one of our black friends, we sat down with them and they are bare their soul to us
distraught, yeah.
They still would be able to say, oh yeah, of course I know. Like, I know a cop. Like, how about this? Like, I have a black friend who has three cops in their family. So it's like, of course they'll sit down and talk to you like that, but that ain't what social media is about. That's not what Twitter is about. Twitter is just like, my agenda, fuck you. I got to make you look bad. I got to prove you wrong. Everything is a factual, like, everything's point, counterpoint, but to the point where it's like not helping. It's too close-minded. It's poisonous. I mean, it helps.
I'm found out something.
It helps get out information and it helps bring to light things, but it also is a pretty toxic, dangerous place. So, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm going to tweet this out, when it comes out, and I hope people can watch it and take away something. I'm not saying that everything I said was right or something I said might not have been misguided. Maybe it is. That's another thing. Like,
buddy, you're talking emotionally and you don't owe them that. You're, like you said, you're talking off the top.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like, if someone says something misguided, instead of canceling them, mob mentality them, like shaming them, talk to them, open a dialogue. Like, again, it feels so weird to keep saying these things that seem simple, but I think simplicity in a time that's really complicated might be a breath of fresh air. So, I'm not saying that everything I said here that people wouldn't take umbrage with, a sentence or two or a whole viewpoint or two, but I'm just saying that let's look at people's intentions, and if they're coming from a good place and they mean well, let's build a bridge and not burn a bridge, is what I'm saying.
If you have a problem with me saying, of course, Black Lives Matter, police officers aren't all shitty, we need to come together and talk, everybody needs to be treated like a human being, and we need to do better. If you have a problem with that, fuck you. I don't need you in my anything, because that is just anything else besides that to me is delusional. And I found out, Sal, that comedy crowds right now are super amazing and appreciative. And the reason why is because people are going to bed hurting. Okay? People are going to bed hurting on all the sides. All the groups of people that we talked about now are going to bed enraged, hurt, sad, depressed, psychological. All of these groups of people that we mentioned are hurting right now. Comedy, and we're going to bring this shit to positivity now.
Yeah.
Comedy, okay? Your show, Impractical Jokers, me doing stand-up, you doing stand-up, going out there, doing podcasts with friends and shooting the shit and doing that. People need that now. And I'm so excited to go to Arizona and do that. Dude, I watched to get away from stuff, COVID, I watched Ozark. I just watched all of Ozark. And then, it was, the thing about Ozark, get to no, I mean, I don't mean to, I know we're talking about
heavy. I love it. I love that that's a comedian right there. Transitioning from that to Ozark.
The thing about Ozark is, like, they could bring, hold on, I just got to get this off my chest.
The thing about Ozark, you keep saying that. It's such a funny sentence to me. Go ahead.
No, the thing about the end of it was that it was like, you could just bring in characters to get episodes, and then it kind of was predictable. So it's like the show can just keep going on with that. What I did see, and when I saw two of the movies you recommended, I saw Bone Tomahawk, which I loved. Sure. And I saw the one was crazy in the cell.
Cell Block 9, rolling Cell Block 9.
Yeah, Cell Block, that was crazy. I did not see the other one yet, but here's what I did watch.
You got to see that one. Dragged Across Concrete.
Stacy and I watched Hunters. Did you see Hunters?
No.
Dude.
All right, it's on the list.
Hunters is on Prime, and Al Pacino and a group of people, it takes place 30 years after World War II, so it's basically like the mid-1970s.
Sure.
And Nazis that were in the camps doing horrible shit are now in New York, DC, all over. And Al Pacino and a group of people hunt them. And it is, I mean, when I tell you, it is like you see things in the camps. You see. I mean, it is incredible. And at first, you're like, I mean, there's twists, there's turns, and then you're like, all right, listen.
Told me I'm watching it tonight.
Then I'm like, can you really the episode? Listen to this. Scene 1 of episode 1 is something you've never seen before. Really? So 20 seconds in, and the first episode's like an hour and a half, and then everyone is an hour after that. There's only 10. There's only been one season. Jordan Peele executive produced, which is a killer. Oh, yeah. And I mean, dude, it is. I mean, just and then you're gonna go like this. Well, episode 2 can't be as good as episode 1, and it is. And then you're like, episode 3 and 4 are gonna suck. And then you're
I needed something because I had just I started during this whole pandemic. I watched Succession, which is great. Succession is on. If you haven't seen it, it's like HBO or Showtime. I think it's Showtime. I could be wrong. I think it's HBO. Anyway, that was awesome. And then I watched, I finished Homeland, which was really good. I watched Mad Men 3 seasons, but I kind of like dwindled on it because there was a lot of just softcore infidelity over and over and over. And it was just like, I don't get what I get it was good, but it was like a little bit redundant. So I kind of gave up. So I was looking for something on that. So Hunters, I'm in.
No, you watch Hunters. Like Stacy was like up with me watching it. It's amazing. It's great. Dude, this episode is.
Yeah, I'm sorry it was so heavy, dude.
No, this episode was. Look, man. A lot of times you're like, oh, the podcast comes out and it's the same old podcast, right? It's fun, it's good talk, people enjoy it. Sometimes a podcast takes a turn and somebody's got to get shit off their chest. I'm glad you felt comfortable enough. This is what I care about. I'm glad you felt comfortable enough to come to my show. You've been on my show 3 times now. This is a home for you to anytime you ever want to say anything and anytime you ever want to say anything, and you know you're always safe here, and you always know you're going to be fucking defended here because I don't give a fuck, dude. You know what I mean? And you're never going to have I'll never not defend you and all that stuff, but you said what you needed to say. It was from your heart, and I hope people listen to it, because I think if people really listen to what we said, if people really listen to what we said, then things are that's a good thing. But if you just don't, it is what it is.
And look, if I said something that like turns somebody off or that like you disagree with, like shit, talk to me about it. I'm not trying.
I thought that would have been funny if you were like, listen, if I said something to piss somebody off, I mean, there's 3 other Impractical Jokers. It's still on demand.
No, but I'm not. Who knows? I'm still learning and listening too, man. So. I'm not trying to talk like I have all the answers. I'm trying to talk so that people can, we're all feeling similar emotions. So if anybody can relate and this helps anybody, great, because it helped me. So I'm not trying to preach or nothing, but like I said, if I said something that I might have spoke out of turn or said something that I was ill-informed on, I have no problem, as long as it's a nice thought, please talk to me about it.
Yeah, no, man. This has been amazing. I'm gonna hopefully see you soon. We'll talk about that.
You got that nice tan too. Don't think I didn't notice that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You've been out in the yard a little bit.
Yeah, out in the yard, out in the golf course. I'm excited. I'm excited to just be outside and being in the weather and hanging with the family. And now I'm going to Arizona. So, by the way, is there anything that you want to? I know the movie is out on demand right now, and you got some stuff that you're doing the dinner show on Impractical.
Yeah, so the show's on every Thursday at 10. Right now it's taking the place of Jokers because we had to stop production because the pandemic. So until we get back to that, right now we're having fun doing this. So that's on Thursdays at 10. And then we do this game show called the Misery Index on TBS. It's 10:30 right after on Thursdays. All the touring that the guys and I had a 42 city tour this year, and I had like a 30 city solo tour. 100% of those dates, unfortunately, had to be moved to 2021. I think they've been rolling out those announcements. If they haven't yet, I'm letting you know. But other than that, just can't wait to get back up on stage. And hey, if your audience or my fans or like audience made it all the way through this and listened to all that, I just want to say I appreciate it. Keep an open mind, sticking with us through a pretty serious conversation, and giving us your time and energy. That means a lot to me. So just want to say thank you.
And absolutely. And guys, two of my best friends on the planet, Pete Davidson, Bill Burr, this Friday, King of Staten Island comes out. Don't blink, you'll see me. Yeah, don't blink, you'll see me. Unfortunately, my main scene got cut, but you see this face in a very weird, unique way towards the end of the movie. That's all I'm allowed to say. It's kind of a cool little thing, but Pete, man, it's going to be great. So check that out. Arizona, Copper Blues this Friday, 2 shows, this Saturday, 2 shows, and this Sunday, 1 show. Okay, I can't do a meet and greet, but I'll yell at you across the room, and we're gonna have a really, really good time. It's gonna be amazing, and it might get emotional, to be honest, because I have been away from what I love for longer than I've ever in 18 years away. Never been off stage for, 14 days was like the max. 50.
Isn't it wild that because every comic used to have like their own, how long, what's your record that you've gotten up? How long, what's your record? Like how long was it that the most in between that you've gotten up? But now we all share the same exact number.
It's funny. I was talking to somebody about that, and like Kobe Bryant, rest his soul, he would do this thing where he would watch people work out, and he'd find out their regimen, and he always made sure he worked harder. So if they were in the gym for 3 hours, he was in the gym for 4 or 5. So when I would be antsy, not on stage, I was worried because other people were, right? But during this,
you got to keep up. That's the thing. You got to keep up.
You got to keep up. Because like I'd be home for a weekend and I'd start seeing pictures of comics. I'm like, yo, he's getting better. She's getting better. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm you know me, I'm a competitive.
Every night you don't get up is a night that you're not getting better.
Every night, and it's a night somebody else is. So now that everybody had to, that's why I wasn't so antsy with my wife and shit. But this has been an amazing episode. I love you, brother.
I love you.
You're one of my favorites, and I'm going to be seeing you soon. Sal Vulcano, everybody. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, buddy.